Today's episode is presented by LodeStar, the fee experts.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of LodeStar's Lending Leaders. My name is Alayna, Gardner, and this week I'm joined by Liz Short, CEO of Short Solutions, and overall emoji queen, and honestly, just such a wonderful person. Every single moment I've got to spend with you, Liz, has been so wonderful. So thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to speak with me today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Perfect. Well, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So let's start in a place we wish more people would. You are a self-proclaimed relentless optimist. So how do you manage that? You know, everyone, all the industry experts right now are kind of, a little pessimistic, survive until 25. I think we'll say that a couple times during today's episode. So how do you maintain your optimistic attitude?
Absolutely. So first of all, survive until 25. I hate that phrase, so we can keep talking about that. I don't like the word survive, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
I do think I was just naturally born a little bit of an optimist, right? Some of us just see the glass half full or half empty, and I tend to be the silver linings type of person. But that doesn't mean that I don't have to work at it as well too. And I think especially now in our industry, you gotta be, my favorite phrase, getting shit done, stuff done. You can edit me out there.
You can swear on this podcast.
Perfect. Getting shit done. And, I've just found historically that if you are in a place of pessimism or feeling like there's a little rain cloud over you or you're not going to get anywhere, you're not going to get anywhere. And so for me, I've always tried to make the best of any situation that I've been given and figure out how can I operate and find success. And I think we are at a time in this industry now where you can run and hide and pull the covers over your head, or you can try and figure out, what do I have control over and how can I take that control and make something out of it? And so I just feel like in a world of opportunities, let's stop focusing on what isn't working and spend more time and energy focusing on what we can change and what we can try and pivot to that is working.
Yeah, I think that's so important and something that I kind of am for myself am rebranding it as Thrive Until 25. I
love that.
I think there's a lot of opportunity in the market right now. And I think a lot of people aren't seeing it as that way because it is fundamentally, right? Like seeing the layoffs every day, seeing
hard,
people one after the other making that terrible LinkedIn post that no one wants to see, right? Is so tough, right? But I think there are a lot of great people like yourself who've taken that opportunity and pivoted it into something new. And you've really done such an amazing job carving out that space for yourself online. I think, your online series is so wonderful.
Thank you.
What advice would you give to people that are looking, maybe are in a similar position that you were of, I just got laid off, but I always wanted to do this thing. What would you tell them?
Absolutely. So I think first and foremost, you have to, if you have bad news, if things didn't work out as planned, you got to wallow a little bit, right? You got to throw yourself a little pity party. It's okay to feel bad. It sucks, right? And you're right. It is. I'm on LinkedIn all the time, like you are. You know exactly who got laid off. You see those green banners, and it's heartbreaking. It's really, really hard. I think the first thing that I would say is you gotta get out there, right? You have to figure out what you want and how you're going to get yourself into a position where people understand that. LinkedIn is a platform that you said I use all the time. And, it was really hard for me. A year ago, I said, I got to get on video, right? There's only so much that you can do outside of this in letting people get to know you. And so whatever that next step is that you need to take, right? Getting out of your comfort zone is usually a good example of something that is like, oh, I don't want to do that, right? So for me, it was videos on LinkedIn. And it's like, you got to just, number one, start. Whenever you're doing something new, whether it's pivoting into a new industry or trying to find a job that you haven't had to look for 15, 20, 30 years, right? You just have to start. It's going to suck in the beginning. You're not going to be great. If you go back and look at my videos from a year ago, I hate them. But one of the best pieces of advice that I got is a lot of times we're afraid to start something because of what I like to call the cringe factor, right? Like, oh, look at me. It's going to look so bad. But if you don't look back on the things that you were doing a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, and cringe a little bit, then you're not growing. And so whatever that next step is for you, it's okay for it to be a little messy. It's okay for it not to be perfect. It's okay for you to look back and be like, ooh, I really did that, because that's the thing that's going to get you to that next step of whatever that is. So just do the thing. And then also find some support, right? Who are the people that can help you in that? We can't figure out everything by ourselves. And so one of my favorite phrases is the who, not the how. So who do you know that's going to help you get that job, get into that industry, do that next thing, learn that skill, whatever it might be? Really rely on your network.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons I've been able to move forward in my career as much as I have, being in mortgage for such a short period of time, is because, you know, everyone was so kind early on when Jim started introducing me to people with his relationships. People immediately would take me under their wing, make sure I was safe, you know, guide me through the process, answer my questions, right? And I think that's one of the most important things that you can have is, I think a lot of times we have this really formal mindset of like a mentor mentee situation, but and those are great, right? I've had some wonderful mentors in the industry, and I've mentored people as well, and it's been one of the most fulfilling things I've done. MBA has a great program. If anyone's looking, it's called Engaged MBA, Engaged Mentoring. It's wonderful. But I think it's so important to build the tribe around you, right? You do a great job with your accountability club of people showing up, right? And being able to say to that group and supporting each other and doing all of that. What inspires you to kind of bring those people together?
I mean, I'm very transparent about this. Accountability Club, I started 100% because I was looking for a community for myself, right? I went from managing a team of direct reports and indirect reports of over 40 people to being a solopreneur in my basement working every day. And so to me, I've always found success, not through what I can do myself, but in that community that I build around me. I know people who are much, much, much smarter than I am in many different areas. And I think I've found success in being able to build those relationships and leverage those relationships in meaningful ways. And so, you know, I wanted a group of friends to talk to every Monday morning and kind of help set my week in the right direction. And, you know, getting back to the videos on LinkedIn, I needed a group of people to commit to and say, hey, I want to do this. There was nothing that was really holding me to it. And so, you know, what I think is really cool about that community, or any community that you can really find that you feel a part of, is just what you said, being able to bring questions to it, right? Being able to be maybe a little bit more vulnerable than you feel comfortable being at work, right? Sometimes at work, we have to kind of act like we might know a little bit more, especially during these times. And so I think finding those spaces and being able to, you know, cultivate like-minded groups of people who share those same goals is super important outside of your personal life and your work life as well, too. And so that's kind of, you know, the theory behind Accountability Club and what it's evolved to really over the past year.
Yeah, and I really like that you do it, and as a short-term commitment. I think it's so smart, and it really puts, you know, any goal without a deadline is just a dream.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. It's, you know, I always say that you're probably not going to get exactly to where you want to get to at the end of Accountability Club, but you're going to get to a place that you wouldn't have probably gotten to without it, and that have a lot more clarity about where you want to go to next. And for me, those are huge wins at the end of, let's say, a 60 or 90-day period to focus on a goal.
no, that makes complete sense. And, you know, one of the things that we love doing is low-key stalking you on social media before we do any of these things.
I love
And
it.
something my team found is you recently posted a Van Wilder quote, "Worrying is like a rocking chair. It might give you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere." So what should lenders and technology providers be doing instead of just having that mantra, right, of survive until 25? And button down the hatches and see if we can make it, right? Like that seems to kind of be
Absolutely.
a lot of people's mentalities.
Absolutely. Well, you're making me laugh. I do all these quote posts and I quote a lot of very famous, smart people. And I love that you pulled the Van Wilder quote out of all of this. So it's great. It's great.
You can thank Tim for that. He has
I love it. Thank you, Tim. It's
master's
great.
degree in literature.
It's very on brand for Liz and Short Solutions. That is true. You know, I think right now it's comforting to sit around, right? Misery loves company. Let's all talk about how hard it is to do business. But really what I advise my clients right now is you need to be evaluating what you have and you need to be setting strategy, not only for the next year, but for where you want to be in the next 5 years, and when this cycle ends. And so it doesn't take a lot of money to do an evaluation exercise, to sit down and prioritize some time where you're actually working with your leadership team on long-term strategy, with your sales team, with your hiring, with your clients, with your products, with your customers, with your technology, spending time on your customer journey. Do you really know what your customers are going through when they're using you as a lender or when they're using your technology product? Spend the time to really understand how you do business today and then where you want to be. If you don't have those two down, it doesn't matter how much money you spend on new technology or hiring new people, it's not going to get you to where you need to be at the other side of this cycle.
Yeah, you just need to have so much insight into how you work as a business, and it's going to be different for every single business. It's actually, I gave a presentation a couple weeks ago specifically on that. Now is the time to make the plan, even if you're not spending the money right now because you have budgetary restrictions and stuff like that. You need to be looking at the tech that's out there on the market. You need to be taking those meetings. You need to be reaching out to people, because what happens is all of a sudden business comes back, right? Rates drop, volume spikes, and you don't have time anymore. You don't have time to give it the due diligence that these things deserve. So taking the time now to look at your tech stack and be like, is there something I want different, or a process? Is this need to change? I know we did a huge revamp of our customer journey about 6 months ago, a year ago, and we realized that our customer journey was so much longer than we thought it was, right? And I think a lot of times we look at the very short, when did they start talking to sales and when did they close? Not what was the first touch point we had? What net had we actually like spread out that allowed for those people to come in and have conversations, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's been one of the things that we've been really successful with, and now starting to see those things come in.
I totally agree. And I think, in previous cycles, lenders especially have been able to hold their breath, cross their fingers, and say, okay, we just got to get through until the market picks back up again. And maybe they did a little technology improvement. Maybe they, how many process redesigns have I been a part of where the process looks exactly the freaking same on the other side of it, but fine, we did a process redesign. But I think really being able to come in with a different lens this time is important, because mortgage processing will not look the same on the other side of this cycle. And it's not just holding your breath. If you do not have a plan to have the technology that will be required in the future with future buyers, you're not going to make it. And so the cycle, in my opinion, we'll all see, right, is so much different than those previous ones. And I don't think you can be successful with just trying to do a few small changes. You have to be ready for what future buyers are going to expect as part of, just how we all do business with the world in today's day and age.
Yeah. And I think there's so much kind of freedom in between lenders, which is totally acceptable, right? Like, of what your tech stack, what industry best practices are, all of that, right? But, looking at some people that are maybe doing a manual process versus a one-click process versus a 3-click process, right? That's something that it's so interesting to see. And it's so interesting to me to always see, I've talked to huge lenders that are using a very old process, right? That is maybe 10, 15 years old. And with technology, 10, 15 years old is a lifetime.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And And in a lot of cases, they don't even know what processes they're
Mhm.
doing because they've never even documented them down really officially too. And so starting there to understand what your staff and your team is doing is huge, because you might uncover that things that you thought were completely different are actually not happening that way. And so you're absolutely right. There's so much opportunity just to improve what you already have without going out there and spending a lot of new money.
Well, as we wrap up here today, my favorite question to
Yeah.
ask is our lovely LodeStar question. So, a LodeStar is a guiding light in the night sky that you navigate yourself by when you're on at sea at night. So, what is a guiding light for you, either professionally or personally, that you use to make decisions in your career?
Absolutely. So, I'm going to answer this two different ways. I would say
Totally.
my first answer to this is, just overall in my life, I build success based off of relationships, right? And so, I just love meeting new people. I love figuring out what hard problems they're trying to solve, and, making connections between, different people is just one of my passions in life. As an entrepreneur, a new entrepreneur, I would say a year and a
Mhm.
half, I've been out on my own doing this, I find inspiration in other stories who have been doing big, hard things as well too. And so, one of the reasons, a big thing you'll see on my social media is a lot of inspirational quotes, because I believe you have to surround yourself with people that have done the things that you want to do before.
Mhm.
And so, I'm always out there looking for new people that have done hard things, that have, gone against the grain when others said they couldn't. And just reminding myself that, getting shit done is hard work sometimes. And you got to figure out
Mhm.
how you can keep that positive attitude, to circle back around to what we were talking about earlier, kind of in check, and help feed that
Mhm.
motivation, if you will.
Yeah. And I know did you get the second one or did I miss it?
Oh, no, I didn't. Thank you so much. The second one I would say personally, as an entrepreneur, would be then my grandma and grandpa, because they were entrepreneurs as well too.
Mhm.
They had their own business and their own store. And so, when I look back on people that have done it before, it's great to see that in the family, I have some of that. So just paying it forward to them as well too.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, thank
Well,
you.
thank you again, Liz, so much for spending time with me today and letting me pick your brain a little bit. Where can people find you if they want more Liz?
Absolutely. The best place to find me, I would say, is on LinkedIn. I am the
Mhm.
Liz Short if you're looking for me on LinkedIn. And then my website, www.theshortsolution.com. Definitely can connect with me there. I would love to talk to anyone who's interested in technology optimization, process improvement, or maybe you're looking for a little accountability club in your life. We'd love to have you join us as well, too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who's listened today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see everyone next week.